Hi, good evening to all of you, and most welcome here in this orientation session of Integrated Edu System. As I have seen here earlier and right now today also, there are so many beautiful young faces are there, and let's start this orientation session. The purpose of this orientation session is to talk about the strategies to crack the civil services examination and to learn different stages of the examination, the nature of examinations, and basically I would like to try to answer the queries of the students basically about what to read and when to start preparation, what should be the right strategies to crack this examination. And there are different other questions. If you have any queries, you may ask. I had certain sets of questions generally I had faced, and students fraternity often ask such kind of a questions. You may find out the list of certain questions here in this PPT. That majority of candidate always asked about what is the right strategies to start about the GS paper and what should be the right time to start this preparation basically. Another questions generally the people asked, and they often confused about optional paper, how they choose their optional, how they decide, and basically the role of optional paper in this examinations. Basically they confused whether they have to impart their times over GS or the optional, what would be the percentage, what should be the management and the time planning. So I had also find out several questions regarding the time management and about the writing skill development. So my focus is here to give you some glimpse of ideas about this strategy also. Lots of students having the questions in the mind regarding essay paper, what is the role of essay basically in the mains, and how they manage the essays, how they structure the essay basically, and the nature of essays, demand of this examinations, and the significance of this paper also. So I would also like to discuss here today about the essay, and then very significant role of current affairs in civil services exam. As you know that there are different stages of examination, and basically majority of you may know that there are 3 stages of examination: pre, mains and interview. And in all these stages of examinations what we face that there is a significant amount of currents has been asked, and there is a very important and significant role of current is here. So how we can cover the current affairs, what should be the strategies, and whether how the students make himself or herself comfortable in these sections, and what is the role of newspaper and magazines here. So I will also discuss today about this. But before going to this, I would like to give you a glimpse of all the ideas, basic ideas about this nature of examinations, and how you can apply, what are the eligibility criteria for this examinations, and what are the papers you have to go through that, and the subjects basically, as well as the plan of examination, because examination having the different plans. One stage of examination is MCQ based, while the other examination is written based, subjective based. So I will also give you the planning. So let's start with the basic ideas. When you plan for the examination, first of all you have to apply, and right now in the recent past when you go through, The government's agenda is to make our economy as well as system paperless. So the government is planning for the online structure of examination. So the students can apply through the online mode only, not the offline mode is available right now. So you can visit this site every year to fill up the forms. And earlier the forms basically when you look at the UPSC's civil services examination, is generally the forms appear in the months of December or January, and it may fluctuate during the pandemic periods. We find that there is a slight delay in publication of the examinations forms. Now when you look at the eligibility criteria, all the graduates of India from the different university of different streams can apply if the university is recognized and affiliated by the government, whether it is central university or state affiliated universities. The candidates, those having the graduation degrees or those who are appear in the final year, and they also can apply to this examination, but before the result they have to put their results. So those who are in the final year of graduation also may apply, but here there is a age criteria also. The age must be 21 years. So the eligibility is first the graduation, and so the candidate, graduation here means any stream of graduation. So the candidates, those who basically belongs to the BSc or the BCom or the BA streams, or even the medical graduate, okay, as well as the engineers, those having the BTech degrees, or BSc agriculture or pharma, whatever the degree you have, you can apply BBA. Okay, so all the graduates here, so simple graduation is the degree which is required to crack this examination or to apply for the this examination. So now when you look at as I have said, the minimum age requirement is 21 year, and this minimum age requirement 21 year for all the candidates, those who belongs to different community, whether the general or the other backward class community or SC or STs, the minimum age requirement is same for all the candidates. While the maximum age limit decided by the governments depend on the vulnerability of the groups, and the reservation criteria are there, so there is a relaxation in the age, not for the general having 32 the maximum age group, but some relaxation is given to the OBC. Here 3 years relaxation has been given by the governments, and for the SC and STs the attempts limit is unlimited, but the age limit relaxation is +2 to the general candidates. So this is the basics age limit criteria in this examinations when you look at. Now when you look at the number of attempts, because generally and some other services having also the age relaxations given by the governments, when you look at in case of the personals, those who belongs to the defense services, this defense services personals and disabled during the operations having also the age relaxations. And for the ex-servicemen, there is a 5 years age relaxations are there. So some others service personals, physically challenged persons, as well as those who working in a defense services, the government having some relaxations in their age. Okay, so I had given you the ideas about the relaxation of age. So the candidates, those who belong to different categories, they may take the advantage of this, but in the earliest stage of preparation, won't think about the advantage and privileges. Try to crack this examination as early as possible. So now when you look at the number of attempts, earlier for general the number of attempts was 4, but now the government has given some relaxation to the general candidate also, and the number of attempts right now for the general is 6. When you look at the OBC, 3 extra attempts is provided and given by the governments to the other backward sections of societies, and the vulnerable groups in our society, the SCs and STs, those who are most backward in terms of social and economic stature in the countries, and that's why the government has given them unlimited attempts. Here the government also set a benchmark for the physically challenged people and Divyang in the new connotation and term given by our Prime Minister. So for these people, those who belongs to the general categories and those who are physically challenged, and the OBC as well as EWS, economically weaker section, the attempts is 9. But the SCs, STs community, those who are physically challenged, there is a unlimited attempt. So here this is also a very crucial and significant point you should keep in mind. If you belongs to your categories, you have privileged and you can plan accordingly. Few people, those especially those who are working, they have to manage the time accordingly, so they can take the advantages of these attempts and accordingly they can plan their strategies to crack these examinations. Now another general things, the students or the candidates, those who are basically freshers, and majority of you are freshers, so you don't know about what kind of services is provided. When you look at the services here, when you look at the nature of examinations, right now the government is conducting the civil services exam along with the Indian Forest Services examination. The pre is common, but you have to apply separately for both the examination, for IFS as well as for the civil services examinations. So basically once you crack the pre is common, but the merit is different for both the examinations, and the nature of the mains examination is subjective, but the optional is different. Only the candidate having the science optionals can apply for the Indian Forest Services, which is a all India services. And separately, this common civil services examinations papers, which the misnomer the people use is IS examinations. Here the government is having the 2 all India services, IAS and IPS. So through these examinations you can apply for the 2 all India services here, IAS as well as IPS. Apart from that, all these services are central government services. So this is a central government services, and there are a variety of group A services as well as few group B services are also included under this civil services examination. So altogether there are 19 different services are combinedly conducted by the UPSC, Union Public Service Commissions, every years, and according to the merit of the candidate, the merit is decided by the marks of the mains as well as interview. Further I will explain. So on the basis of the merit, the candidate is getting the services. So the sole criteria is the merit, and of course the categories play significant role, because category wise the seat is distributed. So reservation policies is strictly followed under these services. So now when you look at, as I have said, there are different services. So over the slides you can find out what kind of services are there. Later I will discuss the importance of these services. Where you find the importance, when you are filling the form DAF. When you clear the mains, you got the opportunity to fill up the DAF before interview. Here how you choose your services is very, very significant, because once you come into the merit, according to your choices the services will be awarded. So this is it is very important and plays significant role, especially when you apply the detailed application forms. So later I will discuss this also, the significance. So now these are some B group services are also included under this. Now when you look at, now comes to the plan of examination. As I have said earlier, that there are 3 stages under which there is a preliminary sections, which is MCQ based or objective types. Second stage is the mains, which is very crucial part and play very, very important role in merit and to achieve the merit and selected for a specific job and services, this written examinations. And the last test is again very crucial, and the marks of this the personality test or interview is also added and play a very significant role in to determine the merit of a candidate. So now when you look at the nature of the paper, now let's talk about the preliminary exams. In preliminary exams, there are two papers. One is commonly known as GS paper, General Studies, Civil Services Aptitude Test 1, which is commonly known as General Studies paper, having 100 items of 200 marks, and the time duration given to the candidate is 2 hours. Now when you look at the second paper, which is known as CSET, Civil Services Aptitude Test, here there are 80 items only, and these items are of 200 marks, and the time awarded is 2 hours. Within 2 hours you have to answer 80 questions. Now, but there is a, when you look at the preliminaries examinations, basically for the mains the candidates selected and the merit is decided by the GS paper. But what is the role of CSAT? It is qualifying in nature, and the candidates of all the categories have to achieve this minimum marks. And now it seems to be quite easy, but it's not so much so easy. In the recent past, what I have observed that lots of good candidate, due to the lacuna of their strategies, fail in this examination. So you have to plan accordingly. I will discuss with you people the nature of the paper also. When you look at the GS paper specifically, having the 100 items, as I have said, of 200 marks, which is written here, when you look at, there are several papers under which, what are the papers? The major papers, when you look at the subjects which is here, is say for example, one paper is what you find out, geography subject is very important, and you find what I am writing here is the major paper. Economy is another major sections in pre. Apart from that, general science as well as ecology and environment, some social issues, schemes and plans, as well as few questions from science and tech. Basically such questions are current based, and apart from that, especially some current affairs based questions also appear in pre. So how you can design your pre-preparation, how you can strategize your this preparation is also very crucial, because when you look at the nature of the questions, the breakup of the questions, what you find that these are the major subjects. Geography, polity, history is the major subjects, and when you look at the recent past previous year questions, then what we finally, according to my own observations of 2020, 2021 and 2022 preliminary paper, what I have observed that from the polity sections in 2020, I have observed almost 17 questions appear. What I would like to say you here that where you have to focus in pre, what are the major sections and what are the minor sections. The minor sections you have to make the average preparations of that. For the major sections you have to be very confident and you have to practice a lot, and then you can able to crack. When you look at the polity questions of 2021, what I have find there are 80 questions, and in 2022 almost around 21 questions came. Now when you look at the geography, Then what I have observed that in 2020, in geography, I have observed 18 question, but in 2021, the fluctuation I have found almost around 15 question, and in 2022, almost around 14 questions appear. But again, what I would like to suggest you, and when you look at the history along with the art and culture, because specifically the art and culture is also given and enshrined in the syllabus of mains, and few questions appear regularly in the pre also. So from the art and culture sections, what I have observed, 7 questions in the 2020 and 2021, there are 6 questions, and the 6 questions here in the 2022. And when you look at the ancient, medieval and modern sections of the history, because world history is not included in the pre, then what we observed that almost in this 2020 I have observed the 16 question, and then in this I have observed 15 questions and almost 16 questions in the year 2022. So what I would like to suggest to you people, that you must emphasize over this paper the polity, geography, history and economy. This breakup is only to suggest to you people that where you have to emphasize, because on an average, according to my own observations of these examinations of the last 1.5 decades, what I have observed that from these major sections you always get on an average 50 to 20 questions. It may fluctuate somewhere, because what I have said, somewhere it is 15, somewhere it is 18, somewhere 21, somewhere 12. So it fluctuates between 15 to 20. What are the subjects are the major? Geography, polity, history and economy. So you have to emphasize here. Now, when you come to the social schemes and plans, generally you get 3 to 4 questions from these sections. Specifically, the flagship schemes of the government is targeted by UPSCs. Every year you get where the government is emphasizing, or if the government announce any new schemes in the budget, you have to go on through the budget, you have to find out that schemes, you have to pick out, because there is a pretty chances of such schemes may be asked in examination, specifically in the pre. So generally what you find, 3 to 4 questions from the social schemes, plans, okay, as well as the policies, social policies driven by the government in the recent past or emphasizing by the government, say for example the national education policy. It's also a very, very significant and important policies, keeping in mind our societies, because education is the pillar for the society. So here you have to emphasize their component, because there is a pretty chances, and already been asked in examination, and in future there is a pretty chances that the government may ask that exam the questions from NEP. So if you are planning your pre for any exam, I am not talking about only the civil services examination conducted by UPSC, but if you are planning for State Public Service Commission examinations also, these are the major subjects where the candidate has to focus. Now, apart from that, some subjects having also very crucial and significant role, as I have said, the general science having very important role specifically in pre, because often you get 4 to 5 questions from general science, and in the general science sections the questions appear from physics, chemistry and biology, and when you find out the previous year questions, UPSC generally or often emphasized on biology more than the physics and chemistry. Getting my point? So what you have to focus on, the general science sections, specifically you must prepare the bio sections from the book 9th and 10th of the NCERT. But often I suggest that read 8th, 9th and 10th NCERT of the science, and once you are comfortable in the 8th, 9th, 10th NCERT of the science, you may crack at least 80 to 90% questions of UPSCs. So it's not very tough sections. You can manage these sections also. Those having the humanity background also very comfortable after writing or after reading and preparing this NCERT, which is very, very simple in presentations as well as in ideas, and very lucid languages are there. So you can prepare accordingly. Now, when you come across other subject, ecology and environment. Now the government is giving thrust on the environmental issues in the recent past. We are the parties of different conventions. That's why what I observed, and I have observed in the recent past, in UPSC, the number of questions from ecology and environment is continuously increasing. When you look at the 2022 paper of the pre, the current based ecology and environment question, including the conventional, this year in 2022 is 22 questions around. What I have observed, 22 questions. So what, this is again very significant sections now. Means the candidate has to first cover the conventional sections. I will give you the idea of how you can cover the conventional sections of ecology and environment, and then you have to pick out the environmental schemes, plans as well as policies of the governments from the newspaper and magazine, because current affairs having very important role, it's play very vital role in ecology and environmental sections. Now apart from that, another area from which the questions continuously asked by the UPSC, and again here when you look at the nature of examinations and the previous year questions paper, again the number of questions is increasing from the science and tech sections. Okay, 5 years back the majority of questions are coming from the general science. Now what we are observing, that the number of questions is increasing from the science and tech sections. And here when you look at this is again a very vast sections, but what is the benefit to the aspirant is, if you cover the current affairs properly, you get 90% question directly from the current affairs in these sections. So if your conventional aspect, if your technological conventional aspect is good, if you are clear, then you can easily sort out this problem. It's not a big issues. So ecology, environment and science tech is purely current based sections. Purely means majority of question is current based, not the conventional based questions. So this is the nature of preliminary examinations when you look at. So how a candidate can manage, must focus and practice first the major sections like geography, polity, history and economy, and then you can manage your time and must prepare ecology and environment and science and tech. Apart from an average study of the general science paper is also required. So this is the art of balancing. Basically, if you balance your preparation of conventional and current affairs, you can manage easily. Now when you look at the second papers, this CSAT paper, which is popularly known as CSAT, Civil Services Aptitude Test, where there are 80 items of 200 marks and 33% required to qualify this paper, and then and there your paper will be checked and you having, there is a chances that you came to the in the merit list and you have you can get the opportunity to write the mains. Now when you look at this paper having the questions from reasoning, as well as mathematics, reading comprehension, Now when you look at this reasoning, having the few questions from syllogism also when you look at. So what the UPSC wanted to check, that whether the students have numerics aptitude or not, reasoning aptitude or not, or those who are proficiency and efficiency in the reading comprehension. But what is the different nature of this examination? When you look at this examination, then what we observe here, that the comprehension in the pre is not similar to the common aptitude test which is conducted, which is popularly known as CAT, where the comprehension basically in that examination is story based or editorial based, but here the comprehension is based on the subject ideologies. So here the aspirant should understand the basics of subject. So the comprehension, when you look at the previous year paper of CSET, what you find that some comprehensions are based on science and tech, some comprehensions, reading comprehension is based on environmental issues, some comprehension is based on economy issues, some comprehension is based on the literary aspects, some comprehension is based on historical aspects. So here the terms and vocabulary of the subject and the basic understanding of subject is also required. It's not a very simple comprehensions. So majority of candidates, those who having the background of MBA, what they take it lightly, or those having the science background, they take it lightly, but won't take it lightly because it proved to be very disastrous. So what I would like to suggest here, must practice the previous year's questions right from the 2011 till 2022, okay, 2022. Just practicing this paper give you the ideas, and this is sufficient for this examinations to achieve the 33% marks. But don't ignore this paper, because majority of candidates, those who are sitting here of this engineering background, always neglect this paper, and what we find that disastrous takes place. So don't make it disastrous for you, but the merit is decided by this paper. Later I will elaborate the planning, how you can plan the strategies to crack. Now when you look at the next stage of examinations, which is known as mains examinations. Now mains is a very vast examinations, and when you look at the nature of the exam, it is subjective type. Now when you look at here, there are multiple papers the aspirant has to face. Here some paper are qualifying in nature. When you look at the student has to give a language paper, which is mentioned in our schedule 8 of the Constitution, and another is the English, which is 300 marks. So both the paper are of 300 marks, but it is purely qualifying in nature. So again I will suggest here you people how you can plan. Must practice previous year questions. Must practice previous year questions, because again it is a part and parcel of your examination. So plan, won't neglect any paper, must see, must browse the paper of the previous year, and accordingly you plan for a month. At least you give 1 or 2 months for this paper also. Don't neglect it. At least look at the previous year questions, practice it once. If you are comfortable, then it's all right. Now when you look at the merit is decided by this paper. So I have already mentioned in this presentation that how the merit is counted based on this. Here there is a special paper of Asia, and now when you look at this paper, there are 2 sections. And from both the sections, the candidate has to write 1 essay. UPSC has given 3 or 4 essays. You have to opt 1 essay and you have to write, and it is of 250 marks. In 3 hours, you have to write this paper. The time awarded is 3 hours. Now for the beginner, essay always haunted in the mind how you can prepare. My humble suggestions to you people that as a beginner, won't try to write essay because you won't able to make a proper structure to write the essay. So first just prepare your basic subjects. Once you generate some basic understanding over the history, polity, geography, because essay is interdisciplinary in nature. Essay is not a subject, it is amalgamation of multiple ideas. So once the student is comfortable and they have some basic understanding of different subject, then you must go to the previous year questions, pick some essay and try to make the structure. Then you are feeling comfortable. And another aspect is must read the current affairs regularly. So I will later discuss about the plan how to prepare your essay, because it is very crucial paper. And to decide the merit, of a candidate, this paper having very crucial role, because when you look at the marks of the selected candidate, here you find that there is a huge gap between the aspirants marks as well as candidate marks. Those who are successful candidates, when you look at the marks of the candidate, what I have observed, my personal observation is that the candidate, those who having the good ranks in this examinations and they are in the top in the merit list, their marks must fluctuate between the 155 to the 175. More than 190 to 210 or 220 is the excellent marks which is rarely achieved by the candidate. The majority of candidate, and this is the very excellent marks, it is rarely achieved by anyone. So won't think. Majority of candidate marks in the essays lies between 80 to 120. It is the average score which majority of candidate achieve. Out of 250 I am talking about. The good candidates marks is 120 to 145 and the best candidate marks is 145 to 175. It is excellent marks in Asia. As I have said, rarely few candidates achieve more than 200 marks, or it is 1 or 2 indicates which achieve such a marks. So this paper having very crucial role. So you have to write 2 essays. So one thing to achieve if you are in this list, so try to be in this list to achieve somehow in between 120 to 145 also is very good score in Asia. It's very extraordinary performance achieve this. Won't think up to achieve this marks basically. So again, this is very important section. Now when you come to the GS paper are 4 GS papers, and when you look at the GS paper 1, this GS paper 1 enshrined the history including the art and culture, and here there is an additional part which is not in pre, is the world history. So the aspirant has to prepare the world history. The syllabus is pretty defined, and when you look at right from 2014 onwards, what I have observed that the major events has been asked by UPSC in the world history sections. Now when you look at, apart from the history, art and culture and the world history, the another section is the social issues as well as the geography. Now when you look at the previous year questions, often you get 20 questions in all the GS paper, almost 20 questions, and you have to write this question in 3 years. The time duration is 3 years. When you observe the paper, when I have observed the paper, what I have find that Often you get 8 questions from history, art and culture and world history, 8 questions from geography including some environmental issues, and the 4 questions from the social issues. So basically 8 plus 8 plus 4, 20 questions you often get. So where the candidate has to focus more and plan accordingly in the syllabus, they have to focus on the history sections including art and culture and world history as well as geography, and they have to balance the social policies and schemes. What you have prepared for your pre is also supported in your mains. Okay, so and how you can manage the time for this? Basically, when you go through the syllabus of pre and mains, the pre syllabus is not quite elaborated, it is vague. So basically I always suggest to the aspirant that open the syllabus of the mains, put in front of your study table and prepare the main syllabus first. If you prepare the main syllabus, if you plan accordingly, then your journey will be more easier. So this is my personal opinion that a student has to focus on the main syllabus. They have to cover it holistically. Once you holistically cover, and if you practice the MCQs, specifically first the previous year question and later you can take any coaching MCQs sets and you can practice the test paper, then you can easily crack these examinations. The first stage, that is pre. What is the main crucial paper is the mains, because your merit is going to decide after writing the mains. So basically once when you are planning to mains, just open your syllabus, underline it, prepare one by one each and every sections. Once you holistically cover and practicing some set of questions, writing some set of questions, then so how you can plan? What I have always suggested that one is, according to me, one how you can start your journey from fundamental readings. But I always say that this fundamental reading, you can say the basic reading or mandatory reading also. And I always suggest that students should start their journey with NCERT books. Now few students claim that I had already learned every NCERTs, I have a CBSE background, I am very comfortable in it. If you are comfortable, again I would like to suggest you people that you must browse once. You must browse once sit with the, and if you are quite comfortable, finish it 1 and 2 days. But must finish. This is, according to me, is mandatory reading to build your basics and fundamental. Once your fundamental is good, the journey will be easier. Now when you look at, as I've said, apart from your fundamental readings, or the mandatory readings, what I have said in CRT. Now for the mains, the role of mentorship is paramount. Why? We always learn the history that few candidates independently prepared for this examination and cracked these examinations, and we learned several history like that. But what I believe personally is that the different aspirants, those who are here, are of different backgrounds, and few candidates are very comfortable in humanity, few are comfortable in science. But as you know, this is very vast syllabus, and here you have to balance your preparation. So, and accordingly you have to plan your strategies to crack this examination. So strategies is very important, and here the skills you have to develop as well as aptitude you have to develop to crack this examination. What kind of aptitude is required? The civil services aptitude is quite different. As I have said, when you look at the comprehension, the nature of comprehension is quite different. The management students face different kind of comprehension. Here the civil aspirant face different. The nature of the paper, the nature of the questions which pick from the current affairs section is quite different here. So how you can pick the questions from the topics from the current affairs is an art actually. How you can manage, how you can learn the newspaper, how you can learn the magazines, how you can derive the questions, how you can derive the topic is an art. Apart from that, what are the sections which is important in the budget, what are the sections which is important in economic survey published by the government is again an art. So sometimes here the role of the mentorship is important. Again, you have to develop the skills of writing. Writing not only the GS paper but also the essay as well as optional paper. Now here again the mentorship role is very important. Who will check your answer? Not your colleague and friend having the similar ideas, the similar knowledge, similar set of books. Okay. So again here you need a mentorship. And now once you need a mentorship, according to me, after finishing this, the aspirant should focus on advanced reading. And I always suggest in advanced reading there are two shades of reading. One, you must focus on the coaching materials. If you are coming here and won't read the material, then why you are here? So must focus on the coaching materials, must finish it once, at least the class notes. So must browse the class notes thrice the time. And apart from that, the books suggested by your mentor. Here the different teachers suggest you the different advanced book. Say for example, I will give you an example. Say for polity, majority of students read Lakshmikant. But you may read D.D. Basu also. Whatever the language you are comfortable, you can pick that book. Once after finishing NCERT as well as your class notes, you may carry this book, not before. You have to understand it. Say for example, for history, specifically the modern history, you may read the Bipin Chandra book of a struggle for independence or the B.L. Grover book. But again, I always suggest that you must read this book after reading the class notes as well as the NCERT. I always suggest. Because earlier when you started reading this book, you won't get the idea how you have to make the structure which is required to develop the writing skills. So, what are the stages of reading? First fundamental, then advanced. In advanced, first you must go through your class notes and then you just pick one or two standard books and you must focus on that standard book. No need to carry so many books and put into the self. Only one or two specific books we will provide you later, the list of the books for different subjects, and you can pick that books only. Then your journey will be each year. So this is the formula for every paper. Paper 2 sections contain or consist of the Indian Constitution as well as Indian polity, governance and IR section. IR, when you look at again, is largely based on the current sections. Here what aspirants required, a basic understanding of the foreign policy of India, how we develop, how we architect our foreign policy, different arenas, different political system, how the foreign policy change, means during the tenure of the different prime minister, their visions are different, so they came up with the different ideas. So this is the conventional part. You have to understand the background, how the foreign policy evolved. So you have to learn the journey of evolution of the foreign policy, and once you understand the basic principle of our basic governing principle of our foreign policy, then what you find that your basic understanding is now clear, and then you have to browse the current affairs and you have to identify the important aspects and dimension, and then you have to make a frame, and you find that majority of questions came from that three sections. So here and now in the governance sections, which is again a very dynamic sections, and now the government is keep trying, government having in the recent past, the government has taken lots of governing tools, say for example RTI is a governing tools to make the governance more transparent, like citizen charter, again a governing tools. So government is keep implementing different governance tools which is implicit in these sections. You have to be very vigilant, very curious, you have to find out because there are lots of case studies you find from the current affairs in the newspaper. So after basic understanding, as I have said, basic understanding, what is RTI, when it evolved, when it enacted, okay, this is the basic readings. Once you finish your basic reading, you take the case study from the newspaper and magazines. From the citizen charter, what you mean by the citizen charter, why the government evolved this citizen charter, what is the benefit of it, what are the pros and cons of it. Once you understand, then you pick the case study from the newspaper and magazine. And if you give such inputs, your marks will improve. You will fetch more marks. Good governance, e-governance, okay. So continuously government is emphasizing, and we are improving our ranking in the good governance. So the governance sections is also implicit here in the paper 2. When you look at the paper 3, again here the role of current is very, very important, because this sections, this paper include the technology part as well as disaster management, internal security, and some environmental issues are also asked by the UPSCs. So this sections is quite dynamic, as well as economy section is also there. So what I personally observed that this paper always demand complete coverage of at least one newspaper. At least one newspaper. Apart from that, because these are dynamic sections, okay, these are dynamic section. The internal securities. Now what are the internal security threat to India? Just say for example Naxal issues, basic understanding of Naxalism. If you have the basic understanding, then what you have to understand the nature of a spread, ideologies and all, and you have to pick out the case study from different stages where the issues are right now in the recent past highlighted, or any events which is going on. Another internal security issues is cyber securities. Now due to technological advancement, this is the new issues which is developed in the recent past, the cyber securities. Lots of poor people has been cheated, okay, every days, and the cases is now in not thousands but in the hundreds and thousands, or you can say in millions when you look at the year surveys. So cyber security issue is a again a very important. The issues of regionalism, it is again a social issues as well as issues of security, because it creates somewhere the violence. The ethnic classes, especially in the northeastern region and eastern region of India. Okay. Apart from that, the communal violence, which again poses threat to the societies, is a matter of internal security again which is involved. Apart from our border is somewhere porous, the issues of terrorism is also there, the issues of radicalism. So there are lots of issues in the recent past which is developed, which poses threat to the internal securities. So what are the structure the government having to manage such threats? What are the agencies, those who are working? We have to prepare such agencies, we have to develop. If you are finding any books for these issues, we won't get such books in the market. So how you have to cover? You have to cover through the newspaper as well as magazines, and the coachings, again the mentorship role is very important, because coachings gives you a basics ideas about such issues. Okay, now so as I have said, apart from newspapers, some magazines here again play very important role, like the magazine like Yojana, which is published by the publication division, the government of India. No, this Yojana is, you can carry 12 Yojanas of the 12 months. This Yojana is based on a specific topic. There are lots of articles on a single topic. So you can pick 2 or 3 articles and you get a holistic ideas. You can develop your own notes, separate it out. You can generate few MCQs, and it also support you in essay writing. So this magazine, I always suggest that along with the newspaper, you must read this magazine, because this magazine support you in all the paper as well as in essay writing also. So must focus here and make a habit to read the newspaper. Newspaper reading is not easy, because generally the aspirant get bored easily to read the newspaper. So you have to, as a freshers, you have to develop this habit, and it will take at least 2 to 3 months to develop the habit to read the newspaper, to understand what you have to take from the newspaper. And here we will support you how you have to utilize the newspaper. Okay, so along with the class, we will support you how to utilize the newspaper. We will also discuss the important issues in our current sections, and we will address these issues further. When you look at another paper which play again a very important role in mains is optional paper. Now again there is a confusion among the students how to pick the optional paper. Generally, often I suggest that look at the trend of the recent past when you are opting. Few candidates said that whether the options must be based on the background having the rules, but not very crucial role, because sometimes what we often observe that the candidates, those who belongs to the field of science, generally opt the humanities subject and crack this exam very easily. So what is required is basically, if you have confidence and if you are consistent and if you cover the syllabus holistically, then you can definitely crack any examination. You can opt any optional paper. Now what I always suggest that when you think about the optional, we are in our coaching giving you the optional geography, as well as zoology. But what I always suggest that majority the aspirant, those who are preparing for the IFOS examinations along with civil services, prefer zoology because it's a science subject, and in the Indian Forest Services you can only pick the science, not the humanity subject. But what we often find that when you look at the recent trend, so in the recent trend, when you look at the aspirant, those who are make their name in the final merit list, when you look at right now, few optional are very popular in the recent past, or you can say in the last decades when you look at the trend, and these subjects are the geography, sociology, political science, IR, as well as anthropology. When I have gone through the statistics of this subject, what I have found that more than 1000 candidates, somewhere 1500 candidates appear from these subjects. 1500 candidates appear from these subjects when you look at optional paper. So what I have found that from geography, in the recent past, when you look at 2018, 19, 20, 21 mains, then what you find, almost 1000, always more than 1000 candidates are appearing from geography. From PSIR, the statistics is always between this. In sociology also. Anthro, which is rising in the last 2 to 3 years. History, because commonly in the Eastern India, majority of people pick history as a subject in their undergraduates. So history almost 700 to 900. So first of all, what this trends suggest you, and when you look at this, much of students appear in mains. This is the statistics, the appears in mains. In the merit list, 110, 100, or you can say between 100 to 110 candidate make their name in the final list from the geography. When you look at the statistics from PSIR, the statistics is 90 to 100. When you look at somewhere, it is more than 110 or 120. From this section again, 100 to 110. From this section, anthropology, when you look at 75 to 80. When you look at history, again the ratio is 60 to 80. So what should be your criteria to pick this? First, how many candidates are able to appear for the mains as well as able to crack finally this examination? The first criteria the candidate should pick in mind, as well as your own comfortability in that subject. Must go through the syllabus first, okay, and then decides. If you are comfortable in science, you can pick. I'm not emphasizing that. The second criteria, what I often said, that you must pick the role of your optional in GS paper, because the journey is long. GS, there are 4 papers of GS. When you look at paper 1 having the history as well as social issues and geography, so this paper support you in your pre as well as your mains GS paper if you pick these subjects. When you look at in paper 2, this subject support you. When you take the economy, which is very unpopular optional, but few candidates in the recent past, okay, achieve good ranks from economy also, but finally very few candidates able to make their name in the final list from this. Economy also plays significant role in the GS paper. So the second criteria, apart from this, when you look at this criteria, gives you which optional is popular. Apart from that, the paper which supports in GS as well as essay writing, if you pick such subject as an optional, that will support you. When you look at why the geography is popular, because the students, those who belongs to the humanity as well as science background, because it is an interdisciplinary subject having the requirement of scientific aptitude as well as the humanity skills also. That's why this subject is quite popular among the aspirant, and they pick this subject and comfortably crack this examination. When you look at the total mains paper, it is of 1750 marks, 1750 marks. And apart from that, the candidate, those who able to manage and crack the mains, they have opportunity to face the interview. Interview is basically a personality test where the UPSC always judges your personality, because already you had cracked the mains, means your aptitude of or objective aptitude already UPSC has changed. Your subjectivity has been checked by the UPSC. What now they are here finding out the merit as well as demerit in your personality. So basically it is the last stage where your personality is completely filtered out, because they are very experienced people, those who are conducting this and organizing this, and you face such experienced people. So again, this personality test or interview play very important role in your ranking, because again here, due to lack of personality, what we find, huge gap in the marks, huge gap. The best marks here is between 160 to 170 or 185. This is the best marks. What is the average marks? When you find out, average marks is 100 to 110. And what is the good marks? When you can say the good marks is between 150 to 160. If a candidate is able to achieve more than 160 marks in interview, definitely there is a 80 or more than 80% chances that he will be in the final list. Okay, so these are the stages of examinations, and every stages of examination, as I have discussed, having different demands. So the aspirant, those who entered into these preparations, must manage their time accordingly. So there are different options you can pick. Here in our coaching, we guide or give the mentorship for the geography as well as zoology, as I have said earlier. Apart from that, when you look at the prelims cutoff of the recent past, so the prelims cutoff in the recent past is around 48 to 50%. When you look at the marks achieved by the candidates as a cutoff mark, this is the minimum cutoff marks of the prelims. In 2019 for the general it was 98, in 2020 92.51 out of 200, and in the 2021 it is only 87.54. So the candidate who achieved between 48 to 50% marks in the recent past clears easily pre. And what is the mantra to crack? Command over 4 major subjects. Make your average preparation over 4 minor subjects, and balance your current affairs. Before pre, I always suggest right from the February at least to the April or May, because sometimes the exams conducted in May and sometimes in June. So right from the February and May, must practice the questions paper. And what is required? At least practice 1000 questions from the major sections and 1000 questions from the minor sections. You can preferably hit first the previous year questions, and then you can take one sheet of questions from the market, or you can join any coachings for the test, including R, and you have to at least cover 8 to 9 months current affairs. Standard is 12 months, but at least you must cover 8 to 9 months current affairs completely. And if the candidate is able to manage these things comfortably, he or she can achieve 50% marks. In the worst condition, what I always suggest, plan for 55%. You must set the target to achieve 55%. In the worst scenario even, you can clear pre. In a worst scenario. Now, when you look at the another statistics, look at the mains cutoff of the last 3 years. I have a statistics. In 2019, the mains cutoff was 751 for the general, 736 and 745, and this is for the other categories. Okay, mains. Out of 1750 marks, which include the paper of essay, 4 GS, 2 optional paper, which set your merit. This cutoff is decided based on that, not on the language paper as well as English, because that is qualifying in nature, as I have said earlier. Okay. So, almost when you look at here, 50% marks is required. Okay. And even less than 50%, 45 to 50% marks is required. What should be the standard? According to my own opinion, if the candidate manages 150 to 160 marks in essay, it's not quite easy to achieve 150 or 160 marks in essay. But if a candidate is able to manage this, and if a candidate is able to manage 100 marks in each paper of GS, because what I have said, average marks in GS is 80 to 100. Good candidate achieve 110 to 120. Extraordinary candidate having more than 120 marks. Okay. Now, if you able to manage 400 marks here, and in optional paper, if you able to achieve 270 to 300 marks, which again is not quite easy. Very few candidate cross 300 marks. Very few candidate. Okay. When you look at the statistics, I have found the statistics in 2018 from geography, only 3 candidates has crossed. In 19, only 2 candidates has crossed. Somewhere 5 candidate has crossed. From PSIR, 3 or 5 candidate has crossed. From sociology, 2 to 3. From Hindi literature, 2 to 3. So very rare candidate cross 300 marks. So what I would like to suggest, if you achieve 270 to 300, so if you take 160 plus 400 plus 270 even, or 300 as a whole if you count it, so 700, 160, 860. If your score is 860, 100 plus to this cutoff, you will definitely in the list. If you score average marks in interview, average means somehow around 140, 145, if you manage, then you can crack. Why I am saying you? Because look at the final score of this year. This is the final cutoff. For the general, the final cutoff in 2019 was 961. So it fluctuates between 950 to 960. So 750 plus 275. Okay. So when you look at 753, almost around the cutoff for the mains in 200 plus 953. No, means the candidate able to. What I have said, if your score in the mains is 100 plus to the cutoff, if you score average marks in interview, you are indefinitely in the selected candidate list. So which stage of examination is more crucial? The mains stage. But never neglect the pre, because that is the gateway to enter into the mains, as well as the rank which you can improve by getting the score of your interview by giving your 100%. Okay, so this is the strategies to crack this examination. As I have said, I will provide you the list of the basic books as well as the advanced book further when we start our journey. Okay, and our other faculty will provide you the list of books in their own subjects. Okay, so if you have any queries, these are few selected candidate in the 2021, and we are going to launch our batch. Okay, so you can call us. So have a nice time. Thank you.